our top 10 drivers of 2025 so far. So we're 9 races into the season. We've had a couple of sprints as well. Leaves us in a good position to judge how the drivers are doing. So we're going to be positive today and just look at those that are really excelling. The top 10 of the, I was going to say 20, just over 20 drivers that we've seen so far this season. We'll do 10 to 6 in this first half. We'll do 5 to 1 after a short break. So what we'll do, if we just reveal who we've got from 10 to 6, and then we'll get into some of the discussion points. So, Sam, what does 10 to 6 look like for you?
Usually having dinner.
That's your fault. You walked straight.
Yeah, come on. You knew that was going to happen.
You should know better.
Come on.
Yeah, but it's banner, isn't it?
It's funny.
It's funny, isn't it?
Can't wait for 5 to 1 later as well. Right, 10 to 6 for me. I've got Gasly in 10th, Ocon 9th, Hulk 8th, Albon 7th, and Russell 6th.
Harry.
I've got Ollie Behrman in 10th, Hulkenberg 9th, Gasly 8th, Alonso 7th, and Isaac Hajar 6th.
Oh. I've got Nico Hulkenberg in 10th, Fernando Alonso in 9th, Esteban Ocon 8th, Isaac Hajar 7th, and Alex Albon in 6th.
We've got a completely different list.
Yeah.
Well done.
I think I forgot about the Williams drivers.
Oopsie.
Did you forget they exist?
A little bit. That's fine. We move.
We move.
They're 12th and 11th for you.
Yep.
Should we start with the Haas drivers? Let's start with Oliver Behrman particularly, because he was in contention for my list, but didn't quite make it. He didn't quite make yours either, Sam, but he has cracked the top 10 for you, Harry. Why has he had such a good season?
There have been a couple of occasions where Ollie Behrman hasn't performed, but they have been rare. And when the car is on good form, which for Haas seems like a bit of an enigma at the moment as to when that's going to be, but when it is on good form, Behrman has delivered. There's another rookie further up the list because I think Hajar's been better, but I think Behrman has been very impressive this year, and I think the reason he's on my list, or he's 10th, is because of I'm not saying a headache he's given Ocon, but he's challenged Ocon more than I thought he was going to this year, given the experience Ocon has. Now, obviously, there's the argument to say that Ocon's new to the team. I know so is Behrman, but at least he had a couple of races last year to get used to them. But I've been surprised in how well Behrman has fared against Ocon, because as we know, and Alpine don't, Ocon's a really good driver. And yeah, Behrman has showed his quality. So I've been suitably impressed by Ocon by Behrman this year. I think, yeah, like I said, there have been moments where he's not had the pace, but again, he's also a rookie. So yeah, that's why he's number 10 for me.
His teammate Ocon has made your list. Where did he rank? Sorry, was it 9th?
He was in 9th, just ahead of Gasly on my list.
Why has he made your list?
Whenever Ocon has been given a car that actually cooperates with the racetrack, because that Haas is so topsy-turvy, it seems unable to actually deliver any consistency. It's really difficult to know what the strengths are for the Haas and where they actually prevail and where they fall short. But the moment Ocon is given a car that actually works, he pulls a result out of the bag. I've got his results here. Please hold callers. He's gone from 13th, 5th, 18th, 8th, 14th, 12th, ignore the DNF, 7th, 16th. So it feels like he's either right at the back of the field where the car is just struggling, or he's delivering really, really good points. And I actually think that the further into the season we get, that Haas and that Alpine are basically trading places for the slowest car, and the Sauber is there or thereabouts. So the fact that he's scored so many points and he's so far up the driver's title is what has surprised me the most. And Ocon's a really consistent driver. He's really brilliant at what he does. Alpine didn't know what they had. And I think Haas are reaping the benefit of having him in their car, because you lose Hulk, you go, wow, I've got a bit of a hole in the team. Ocon is filling that hole really, really well and doing what they need to from an experienced driver's point of view. I have been impressed with what Ocon is able to do in that Haas.
Yeah, ex-Alpine drivers are quite prominent in our lists. We've got Ocon, we've got Gasly in these lists. We've got Piastri, if we want to include him as well. Speaking of, did you see a photo the other day where it's those three drivers for when they were all at Alpine? And I can't even remember what they're doing. It's some sort of promo photo. It just doesn't look real. It looks like they're photoshopped.
AI created.
But that's the lineup that Alpine once had. Completely agree with you on the Ocon inclusion. 3 really standout performances so far this year. The Chinese GP, where he was able to hold off Alex Albon and Antonelli in what I would have called quicker cars at that point. Bahrain as well, he was able to hold off Yuki Tsunoda for a good length of time. And then Monaco took advantage of what was a really great lap in qualifying, and then used the way that race panned out to score some good points again. And the fact that he is, I think, just about in the top 10 in the championship, that Haas, I'm not convinced is very good. Like it is very inconsistent, as you say. And almost his inconsistency is maybe the reason he's not a little bit higher. He's been knocked out in Q1 more times than he hasn't this year. He's been knocked out in Q1 5 times.
But the Haas one lap pace is really poor. You see where Behrman regularly sits at the back of the grid, right?
And it just so happens like sometimes they make the most out of it, like Behrman did in Japan and Ocon did in Monaco. And yeah, I think he's absolutely deserving of a place on this list. Someone who I think made all 3 of our lists was Nico Hulkenberg. So he was 10th for me, but I think I might have had him the lowest of the 3. Harry, you had him
9th.
I had him 8th.
You had him 8th. Kick us off, Sam. Why is Hulkenberg deserving of a place?
That car started the season as an actual toaster, but not like your really nice shiny ones you get down John Lewis, but like the ones that you find that you've had for like 15 years that have been put at the back of the cupboard and have got crumbs all in them. Yeah, exactly. And the knobs are a bit sticky where they've been around the deep fat fryer for a bit. And you're like, oh, I don't want this. And that's what Hulk's driving right now. It's a risk for everyone involved and no one wants to be near it. And yet somehow the guy is regularly scoring points and qualifying in strong Q2 positions, troubling Q3 on a regular basis, causing drivers in much faster cars to be under pressure. And what tipped it over the edge for me was that Spanish performance where he qualified behind his teammate. Strategy was brilliant, executed pace when he shouldn't have been, and then did the dirty on Lewis Hamilton and absolutely pulled his pants down. And that was in a Ferrari. It just shows you that this Hulk fella, who's been around a little while if you haven't noticed him, is really quite good at the F1. And the fact that he hasn't got a podium or anything like that, you know, you can blame him for it and you should, but it's almost a shock that he hasn't had a performance that has got him higher than a 4th place in a race before. The way he's elevated that Sauber really shows what he's made of. And Audi have done a really good job at investing in both that experienced driver and then the rookie of Bortoletto. I think is a great pairing. He is delivering the results where Stake need it earlier on, where they haven't got the car that is consistently in that point-scoring field. I've been so impressed with him. He had a slightly shaky start after Australia, where we kind of put teammate wars to bed and it kind of fell down a little bit as the car settled. And in recent performances, he's excelled again. I've been so impressed with him.
It does feel like the experience that Hulk brings is really proving valuable for Stake in a season that's, let's face it, not very important. But the fact that he has managed to, on 2 occasions, score considerable points with Australia and obviously last time out in Spain, it speaks to how valuable his presence is with the team. Quick question for all 3 of us. The performance that he had at the Spanish GP, is it the best performance of the season so far?
Ooh. No, but I am struggling to think of what actually might be 100% in front of it at the same time. So come back to me. I can't say it is right now.
Harry?
Potentially. I'm trying to think if one of the Verstappen drives.
Yeah, Verstappen in Japan.
Yeah, or Imola.
Was pretty great.
But it's got good argument to say that it is, given. I know the car had some improvements, but it's still not, as we said, it's now a 2-slice toaster, maybe slightly shinier from John Lewis.
Also, Piastri in Miami was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I was having a look at our power ranking scores before this, and if you're not already subscribed to the top tier on Patreon, make sure you do so. Power rankings after every single Grand Prix. And we obviously give scores out of 10. Only 3 performances so far this year have received a perfect 30 out of 30 from the 3 of us. Hulkenberg's performance in Spain is one of them. The other 2, Max in Imola and Piastri in Bahrain, the other 2. But I think it's right there. It's definitely in contention, I think.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't immediately think of something else. It really is in contention of driver of the season so far.
Fernando Alonso. So I've got him 9th. Harry, you had him a little bit higher up.
7th.
Did he feature?
Didn't feature on your list.
I don't know how he could feature on your list. I'm actually shocked that he's in both your lists. When he has been on track, apart from one performance. Average pace.
What?
Yeah, he's been fine, but like only recently has that pace started to develop. He had a great Spanish Grand Prix, really impressive Spanish Grand Prix.
What about all the? I know
I don't
Australia was bad, but the ones before that,
He made mistakes in Saudi, and then the car wasn't there fully.
Did he?
Yeah, it wasn't fantastic. Obviously, he broke down. Where was the race as well that he span?
hate it when he breaks down. That's his fault.
Well, no, but I mean, I just can't. Well, I can't elevate him. I can't put him in a top 10 position if he's not on the racetrack. Car breaking down or not? I'm shocked. I think that's a little bit of Alonso fan favoritism that's gone there. I must admit.
The points don't tell you everything. I think he's been very good. The performance in Spain, I don't think is one of his top 4 performances of the season.
I thought he was pretty poor.
I think it was okay, but my point is like the race that he got his 2 points at, I wouldn't actually put as his best race. Monaco, he was on track for a great point score, did a great job there, and only because the car broke down that he didn't score. Imola, I thought he was brilliant, and if strategically they'd gone a different way, I think he'd have scored good points there. Japan, there wasn't a lot of attrition at Japan, and he finished P11. If he'd got a slightly different race where, like Australia or Spain, where there were some DNFs, I think he'd have scored well there. He wasn't ever in contention for my top 5 or 6, but he was in contention for the top 10.
In your list, sorry, who have you got below him? You say who's in 8th?
Hulk's 10. Oh, sorry, who's above him?
No, sorry, where have you got him? You had him 8th on your list, was it?
He's 9th on
No,
the
so
list.
was it Hulk, just Hulk that's behind him?
Yes, Hulk's 10th.
See, I would have I did elevate Hulk, and I would still say way above Alonso this season.
Harry, you had him a little bit higher again than me.
Yeah, Australia was poor from him. The performance in Spain, which I've said already, out of the past 3 races, I don't think was the one that was deserving of points, but obviously it was the one he did get points at. But in between that, he has been pretty good and has just been unlucky with not getting the results. You mentioned the one in Japan. I don't think that car should have been anywhere near 11th, let alone, I know we almost got points, but the Aston Martin at the start of the year was that bad that I know Lance Stroll obviously got some good point scores earlier on, but that was with Australia and the mixed conditions there. And I will mark Alonso down for that because it was his mistake, gravel or no gravel. But since then, and maybe up until the corner he went off at in Spain, he's been putting performances out on that car solidly, and it's obviously just not reflected it in the results. Whether it's breakdown strategy calls, and it's not worked out for him. But his personal performance, I think, has been pretty stellar in that gap of races. If you take Spain and Australia away, then I'd put him higher, but they were not good. So yeah.
I wouldn't say this is a massive reason for Alonso being in the top 10 either, but he's been perfect against Stroll this season qualifying. I don't think he's been out qualified.
Isn't it like 21-0?
Yeah, it's going back. I mean, again, it's
Stroll's teammate record anyway. It's not a flex.
He did a better job against Vettel, to be fair. He was closer to Vettel. Isaac Hajar, let's focus on him. So he's on my list in 7th, and he was 6th for you, Harry.
He was.
And has he appeared for you, Sam?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Ooh.
Okay, so we'll start with Harry then in 6th place. So I'm going to assume we've all got a fairly similar position, except we haven't, unless Sam's got him first.
Imagine.
It feels like in terms of both qualifying trim and in terms of tyre wear over a full stint, he's getting better and better as the season goes on. I've been really impressed by what he's been able to do. Imola, Spain, like tracks where it wasn't easy to manage the tyres, yet he's done a job on long stints to ultimately, get him higher up the grid. I know he's finished well in Spain as well, but he probably would have finished even higher without that safety.
He was unlucky. The call damaged his race performance. He probably could have been there with Hulk and Hamilton right at the end, had the tyres gone the right way. His lowest finishing position this season is 13th.
I mean,
incredible.
He's been out the points 3 times.
Yes.
But 2 of those are 11th place.
Yeah.
Like, he has been outside of the top 11 once. Hasn't been knocked out in Q1 once. The consistency has been
At every track that we go to, he brings something else.
And Harry impressed you enough to make the top 10?
Yeah, I without Australia, And look, I think it was his mistake, but this was race 1 for Hajar and it was difficult conditions. So, you can't be too critical, but he did still drop it on the formation lap. But without Australia, I think he's got a great claim to be very near the top of this list. Because other than that, I think he's been stellar. I think you said this maybe, Ben, on the Monaco review, that he doesn't feel like a rookie compared to the other ones. Like he's driving not like a rookie, and I mean that in the most complimentary way possible. He's been super impressive, and as you say, he gets more impressive, it seems, as every race goes by, as he's learning more about tyre wear, etc. He's been if we were doing a surprise of the season, he's been my surprise of the season so far, because not that I didn't expect good things, but I didn't expect these such good things versus, well, Tsunoda, and then obviously now Lawson, who I think he's comfortably been better than this year. So very impressed with Hajar, and I'd like to say, if it wasn't for Australia, I think he'd be even higher up my list.
I don't know how you found this, like the top part of this list. It gets close. I found it very close between these top 5 in particular, but let's find out who's there. Sam, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Verstappen in 5, Hajar 4th, Norris 3rd, Leclerc 2nd, Piastri 1st.
Hajar's had a better season than Max Verstappen.
Considering my expectations of them both, yes.
Oh, God.
Rest in peace, Sam Stage.
The last time I slated Verstappen, the abuse really rolled in, so I've doubled down.
Harry, save us.
In 5th, I've got George Russell. 4th, I've got Lando Norris. 3rd, Max Verstappen. 2nd, Charles Leclerc. And 1st, Oscar Piastri.
And I've got Charles Leclerc in 5th, Lando Norris in 4th, George Russell in 3rd, Max Verstappen in 2nd, Oscar Piastri in 1st.
A consensus on 1st.
Unbelievable.
He's leading the championship, and
man who's first is
best. He has made one mistake all season, pretty much, and that was Australia. And even that I kind of forgive him for. It was pretty tough, and his teammate did the same thing. Monaco was probably the only other time I've been a little bit disappointed.
I think that was his worst weekend this season.
And even then, he got a podium.
Yes, not bad.
Not bad, not too shabby.
I would agree that Monaco has probably been his worst at P3 for 15 points. He is one small error in Australia away from it being a 26-point lead.
He's been my surprise of the season. I mean, I rated Piastri highly, and I know in teammate wars I said he'd beat Norris, but I didn't think he'd be this competent and this quick this soon in the season. I thought it would take a bit more time to really develop, and then he will start to have more of an impact. But he is blowing me out of the water. He's been amazing.
Blowing you out of the water.
Yeah.
He's won more races than he's not. He's won 5 of 9 races so far this season. And if you look at the 2 third-place finishes, the 3 third-place finishes he's had, put Monaco to one side. Japan, he was right there with Norris and Verstappen. And the other one was Imola, which, let's face it, was a bit more strategy-driven than anything else. It's the consistency for me, Harry. Like, wherever we've gone, he has, apart from Monaco, been on, at a minimum, on the pace of his teammate.
Yeah. The consistency has been easily his biggest redeeming quality this year. Something he lacked a little bit. Something he lacked definitely in 2023, a little bit more in 24, but not all the time. It was clearly working on it, and he's coming to 2025, and like I said, there's not one. I suppose not one race, Monaco being one of them. But apart from that, there's not one race where you'd go, yeah, he was a bit slow this weekend. And even then, as you said, Monaco wasn't that slow. Like, he was still pretty good. So yeah, that we've seen it with Verstappen before. The consistency is key, but being consistently quick, that's even better. So yeah, that is something that I think obviously we've spoken about that Norris has found maybe slightly tricky to not to deal with, but to replicate, and to also be the consistently quick everywhere out the gate. And I'm not saying Norris has been slow, but he's definitely not had quite the same consistency across these first 9 races that his teammates had. So Piastri, yeah, he's not quite my surprise of the season, but he'd be up there for it. He's been very, very good.
Let's talk about Piastri's teammate a little bit more. So I had him in fourth. Sam had him fourth, and fourth. We've agreed on fourth.
No, sorry, I am third. I've promoted Hajar one too many times.
British bias.
Oh God, sorry, mate. Sorry.
Even so, like none of us have got him in second, right behind his teammate. Devil's advocate might say only 10 points between them. Shouldn't Norris be directly behind Piastri? Why not?
Yeah, no, you mentioned at the start of this segment how close this was, and it really is that close. And I had to go down to the bare bones to really work out why I didn't want a certain driver to be somewhere else. And it's the inability to win where Piastri has been able to. You know, it's been the small mistakes in the starts that have cost him, where I've thought, like, take Spain, the most recent race we've just had, for example. There's every chance he should have gone on to win that race. But because Piastri was able to get away so cleanly, he got such a brilliant start and then managed his tyres so well, and Verstappen gets in front of Lando Norris, that costs you a win immediately. Equally, he won at Monaco, but he won at the racetrack where you can't overtake. And the same can be said for Suzuka, right, with Max Verstappen. He won at the one racetrack where, actually, if overtaking was realistic, would they have gone on to win that race? Don't know. The qualifying was what sold it for Max Verstappen there. And the same thing happened with Lando Norris in Monaco. But that's another thing that hasn't really gone Lando Norris's way, is qualifying. He hasn't been as strong as what we previously would have seen in comparison to Piastri, his teammate, where Piastri has seemed to learn at every stage. You know, his tyre wear has gone way better. His race management is hugely improved. His qualifying record is a massive step forward from the previous year. Norris feels like he's plateaued. Still incredibly good. But I'm seeing the same Norris from last year that I'm seeing from this year, and I don't think I've seen any massive developments in Norris's ability, whereas I've seen Piastri come on leaps and bounds. And so that's why in the best car, he's only fourth, because I don't think like he's overachieved. I don't feel like he's wowed me. I just think he's doing a good job.
I've been impressed with him, but equally, yes, I don't think he has made the same progress year to year that, say, Oscar Piastri has. He has still been incredibly consistent. Like, he has been in the top two in 7 of the 9 races we've had so far this year. And his worst result, his only non-podium, was 4th. So he has found a way to always be involved. And I was very impressed with both of the wins that he put together, Australia and Monaco. I think he showed us something in both of them. Like Australia, the conditions were really tough and he was able to get that win. And then Monaco, we know the unique challenge it brings. And ironically, given his biggest question mark this season has been qualifying, he nailed the weekend where you need to put qualifying together. So both of those were excellent. Similar to you, Sam, the reason I don't have him a touch higher is qualifying and the fact that he is having to recover to positions a little bit more than Piastri is. You think of Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, probably the 2 main ones. And I know it's if, buts and maybes, but if teams like Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull can get a little bit closer to McLaren in the second half of the season, those sorts of errors will be magnified because he might not be able to cut through the traffic like he's been able to in the early part of this season. So the good news is, like, it's not unfixable. Like, if he can, and it's not every race either. Like, if he can qualify more consistently, he's shown he's got the pace to lead and to win races. So, and as you've already mentioned as well, it's very close in this top 5, but that's why I've got him 4th. The Mercedes with George Russell. So I had him 3rd.
6th.
You had him 6th and 5th for Harry. 6th place, not quite cracking the top 5.
He was bumped out essentially by Isaac Hajar, surprising me so much. He started the season so well. We called him the burglar for a reason. He had that consistent run of performances where he was the only driver to have every single result was inside the top 5 up until Imola, I think it was.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and that was a great start to the season. And that Mercedes was seen as a bit of a jack of all trades. And his performances have slipped off since the car has somewhat slipped off the front a little bit. But it was the driving into Verstappen, for example, in Spain that has edged him out a little bit for me. It's a couple of those silly mistakes where I think...
The first one, let's be clear.
The first one. In turn 1, to be really specifically clear.
Second one's debatable.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not getting involved. So it really was that close again that I just think there's a couple of moments where George Russell, Miami again, the pace wasn't 100% there, but does really, really well because of the way the safety car comes out, gets kind of lucky with the way that the race unfolds. Pace is good. We're talking the top 5 and it is that close together that he's just been bumped out slightly for me.
So I had Russell 3rd. And to be honest, I think Russell, Verstappen and Leclerc are all very similar. I think they're all doing sort of the same job of they don't have the fastest car and they're just trying to maximize every result that they can. I will say this about George Russell, and I think it's maybe the biggest reason for him being quite high on my list. What has he had a bad performance? I know Monaco, the result was bad, but equally he qualifies where he qualifies because of the car. And I maintain that I don't think any driver in the position Russell was in would have got points. I just think the race, the way it unfolded, there was nothing he could do. I think maybe Saudi Arabia has been his worst race. Even then, he's beating his teammate quite comfortably. I think his consistency has been quite impressive. To get 111 points in that car, pretty good. And it does seem as if maybe Mercedes haven't solved the issue with hot temperatures in the way that maybe they had hoped they have. We've seen a couple of performances where he's not on the podium as he has been in other races. But I still think overall, 9 races in, he's probably maximised 5 or 6 of them. So again, it's close, but that's why I had him so high. Charles Leclerc, Harry, for you?
Free that man. Yeah. Free him. Look, you're right when you were saying earlier on that we could interchange any of these positions, I think, in the top 5, maybe bar Piastri.
Especially Hajar, all the way to the top.
Sure. Boom! But yeah, so I think any of these could interchange, but I just think Leclerc has been doing things with that Ferrari, doing things with that Ferrari that his very illustrious, most successful of all time teammate hasn't been able to do. But getting results out of that car that I just don't think the Ferrari even deserves. Like, it just, I know that I say there's something in there and I still believe it. It's brewing.
I think there's something in Charles Leclerc.
Maybe that's what it is.
That dog's in him.
It's got that dog in him. But yeah, whilst the car isn't there, I think he's dragging results out of it that it doesn't quite frankly deserve. And I think he's been super impressive this year. And I just think it's mainly sort of flown under the radar somewhat because it's never really the, big results he's picking up. I know he's had a couple of podiums, which obviously been great, but even 3 podiums, even the ones where he's not had podiums, I think they've been super impressive, just given where the car is or relative performance.
Deserve one in Bahrain, probably.
True.
He probably should have had a shot at one in Imola as well, but he was shafted by his strategy. And then obviously Hamilton gets in front of him. They play around with it in Miami as well.
Yeah, Miami just been morons.
Miami just being idiots. You look at his performances. I've got him second, of course. 4th, you can't overtake. Does a brilliant job at holding on to that and being comfortably better than everyone behind him. Bahrain deserve one. Saudi Arabia gets one. Miami should have been far closer, but strategy was stupid. Imola shafted by a safety car and then that strategy as well. Monaco 2nd, and then Spain 3rd. I mean, obviously benefits from the Verstappen penalty, but he's there to take it, and he puts a brilliant move on him after the mistake that Verstappen made on the safety car restart. So I think he's been almost flawless. Australia wasn't great. 8th place at the start of the season. Wasn't brilliant. Other than that, China was good, got disqualified. Not his fault.
I think it was fine.
That was good. Got disqualified. Yeah.
But he was good in that race. It's not his fault that it went that way. I think he's been absolutely sensational in that Ferrari. That's been a real pile of poo.
The whole Ferrari dynamic has been really unusual, I think, because when we were heading into the season, particularly looking at Leclerc versus Hamilton, I think we were asking the question, okay, could Leclerc get a really good start to the season before Hamilton gets up to speed? And it kind of worked out completely the opposite way, because I feel like Leclerc's worst 2 races, and they're not that bad, but his worst 2 races were the first 2.
Yeah.
If we look at Australia, he was down
even by China main race, he caught on. Sprint was not good.
Well, that's the point. Yeah, like Lewis Hamilton wins the sprint and Leclerc is 5th or something like that. Right? Yeah. But I think we were expecting maybe it would almost be the other way around, where Leclerc would be incredibly strong and then maybe Hamilton would catch up. Instead, since China, the only race where Hamilton has beaten Leclerc is Imola. And as we've already said, tough to compare that one because of the strategic differences between the 2. He's been very impressive.
Yeah.
I don't think we can avoid the subject anymore because Max Verstappen, Sam, you hate the guy now.
Just call me Panic Skywalker. The Force is not with me.
Basil Yoda.
Don't come for me, please. It's just, I have such high expectations of Max Verstappen. And again, there is, a bit of paper between all 5 of these. That's how close they actually are. But with Max, it's little things, right? It's the move on Piastri turn 1 of Saudi, which I think that costs him because, the penalty gets applied, and that means that there's a race difference gone there. Bahrain, the car, wasn't perfect, but I don't think it was that bad. There wasn't too much that was too different there. And he ends up moaning and shouting over the radio, and he finishes, P6 there. Spain as well. You can't just drive into another driver. I'm not going to go on about the point, but you can't just use your car to drive into another driver. It's not acceptable.
People would disagree with that.
And they will.
Yeah.
And they have.
You can.
They have disagreed with me on that, which is hilarious. He drops it on the safety car restart. That's entirely on him, whether you're going to ignore the Insta later on or not. So again, I'm really picking hairs. There's really, really tiny differences here. But I have such high expectations for Max Verstappen, who is the best driver in Formula One and has been for a while now. And that's why someone like Hajar for me is above him, because I had no expectations. Hajar's a rookie, and the biggest compliment you could give a rookie is by saying they're driving like they're not a rookie. He's surprised me at every single Grand Prix we've gone to, and I've been occasionally a little bit let down by Max Verstappen, despite some brilliant moments such as Japan qualifying and then the race wing. That qualifying lap was one of the best qualifying laps I've ever seen. In the time I've actively watched Formula One, it was sublime. It was so good. But then there's just been some moments that have let him down. And I'm picking hairs, as I've said, but that's why he's 5th for me and not 1st, 2nd, 3rd.
Harry, you had him a little bit higher.
Had him in 3rd. Without Spain, he could be 1st, quite frankly.
I was thinking the same.
If we'd done this before Spain, I might have had him 1st.
It made my decision much easier,
yes.
Spain.
Really? Above Piastri still? You really would have put him above Piastri?
Yeah, because I think the things he's been doing with that Red Bull, Japan qualifying, yes. Saudi qualifying, that first sector was it was so dirty, it was rancid.
Stunk.
It stunk in a good way. And then, there's Imola, and I think, some of the other performances he's had this year. I mean, Australia, for example, I don't think that car really deserved to be where it was. And Max Verstappen was doing Max Verstappen things. I think he's been dragging so many good results out of it.
It's so hard to know where that Red Bull actually sits. It's so hard to know. Is it a good car?
And I'm not saying it's as terrible as Lawson or Tsunoda on occasions have made it, but it's not as good as Verstappen is making it look.
That's
I see the point. I see your point.
Like, Tsunoda is no scrub.
No.
And the fact that Tsunoda... Or a pancake. Tsunoda and Lawson, the fact that they collectively are behind Sauber.
They're behind Hajar by a long way.
Yeah. They're not double digits.
I am now. Boom!
Even, and I think I've made this point before, but 2012 Ferrari, obviously Alonso, we make a lot of that season. And I'm not saying Tsunoda and Massa are completely comparable, but Massa was still scoring good points.
Yeah, valid.
That second Red Bull has provided nothing.
We'll get onto a topic after the break about Arvin Lindblad. I'm going to say the other one then. And that is going to be an interesting conversation because that second seat is horrible. It's horrible. And I do think it is outside of a lot of the driver's ability. I don't think it's on them for a lot of it.
Similar to what you said, Harry, about Verstappen and where he ranks, I was thinking about 1st until Spain because, again, regardless of whether you think the penalty was fair or if you think it should have been more, it was still stupid. It cost him at a time where the field was very condensed because of the safety car, brought him all the way down to 10th. He cost himself a lot of points that day. But the rest of the season, again, I think what he's doing is similar to what Russell and Leclerc is doing. The reason I have him a little bit above the two of them is Russell and Leclerc have found their ways to 3rds and occasionally 2nds. Verstappen has found his way to 2 wins and 2 seconds. So it's almost... Verstappen has the same number of podiums as Russell, and he's only got 1 more than Leclerc. The difference is when Verstappen's been in contention, he's taken advantage with either a win or a 2nd place. So that's why I've got him a little bit higher. But without Spain, the fact that he's still somewhat in that championship fight is pretty impressive, I think. Okay, that's what our 10-1 lists look like. But as always, we're very interested to hear what yours sound like as well. So let us know in the comments. 10-1, what would your list look like? Who have we missed out completely that deserve to be there?
It's a weird time of day to put a list together. 10-1.
Break, you put a list together.
Break.
7-4.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh my god.